Melbourne sacks Premiership coach Simon Goodwin. The swift end triggered by a board declaring its desire for change. How did the Demons lose faith in the man who ended the 57-year drought? And what is the plan going forwards? Club greats and Hall of Famer Gary Lyon with the full fallout.
And Travis Boak calls time on his storied career. An all-time great of Port Adelaide joins us ahead of the final games of his 19-year journey.
We've talked about is to step into it, embrace all of it.
Get in the room and fix it.
It's unedifying for a senior coach to do that.
They're on the side of caution with the brain. Take the man off.
They played the best footy I've ever seen at the start of the season. And if you'd said Brisbane lift the cup, I would have said, of course they do.
It's the stuff that legends are made of.
What is holding the ball? I don't think I could answer it clearly right now.
I could do something wrong, and I need to go, and the board sacks me.
The fans love it, and with no fans, no 360, right?
There is a sense of shell shock that accommodates a day like today. Gary Lyon, I'm sure there's members of the Demons community huddled round to listen, to try to process how they feel about all of this. So welcome.
It's part of the therapy to get through it. It's a macabre day. It is when a coach gets sacked, but it puts in place a whole manner of subsequent steps. So as hard as it is, there's things that need to be discussed and thrashed out, and we'll do it today. It's a big news day.
How have you dealt with your shock, incidentally, because you were on air when it landed?
I was shocked. It was at 10 to 9, and I got the phone call and then the movement. No, that was a big shock because I had no heads up at all, which is fine, but that's what generally happens in footy, unless you're a newsbreaker and you're chasing the story. I was never chasing the story without Simon being sacked, so it was a shock for me. It's
the biggest news day of the year. Simon Goodwin departs. The sleeper story has been Lachie Neale revealed out until the final series with a quad tear. Travis Boak's announced his retirement, which is historically significant. Ray Chamberlain's coming out of retirement. Oh. Did anybody actually ask him, or did he volunteer? And the Lachie Neale story, so torn quad.
Yeah, on any other day, this is the lead story, and we dedicate time to it. I've had a torn quad. It's a 6 to 8 week injury if you do it badly. I don't know. I mean, Lachie played the game out, is my memory. He was there at the end, so I don't know whether he subsequently done it or it was something that emerged, but they're nasty injuries because everything you do goes through your quads, and particularly from a kicking point of view. So that's a huge injury.
So it's a tight timeline, and the Lions, as we were talking with Chris Fagan last night, nothing is locked in yet, so they have to be winning through as well.
That is a big injury for he's a pivotal part of what they do.
All right, so here's what we've got lined up, all the fallout from the Simon Goodwin sacking. Travis Boak and Marcus Bontempelli, who's a great admirer of the Port Adelaide stalwart, so they're going to be together for Players' Night. Ray Chamberlain to run us through in the back and a little bit more. And then following us, the deep dive into all that's transpired behind the scenes, Lauren Wood, Corbin Middlemas and John Relf. And then tomorrow night, so our favourite pairing who are in the news now, John Longmire and Adam Simpson. And Simon is scheduled for his fortnightly appearance here on 360. We'll have the teams for Hawthorn and Collingwoods, which has got an awful lot riding on it. But let's get into the agenda, and it does belong at Melbourne today after the board took the dramatic step to sack coach Simon Goodwin 4 years on from the Premiership glory.
You know, we spent a lot of time blocking out the noise, but it is suffocating. It comes into your life and your human life even when you don't want it to. You know, we're human beings, and as much as you try and shy away from the things that are going to be harmful to you through that period, you can't help but not. When you start getting messages from your mates and your family members, how you holding up, how you going, it seeps in. The best way to keep your job is to keep doing your job to the best of your ability and coach your way out and have enormous belief in what you're going after, what you value, your personal values, and keep going after it, even when you're under the ultimate pressure.
Did you have any days where you thought, well, if I'm not going to be supported like this, I'm out?
Oh, I think there's no doubt you have doubts at times about your role within it, whether you're the right person to continue to do the job that you love doing and that you've been in charge of for 7 or 8 years. And when it is that heavy, you have doubts about the love of doing the job. I do love this job. I do love this footy club. I love the people and I love everyone involved. And, you know, as I said, the darkest times can be your biggest growth. And that's the attitude we've taken.
Melbourne's leaders under the blowtorch all week and they've responded in the best possible fashion. The Dees celebrate their biggest win of the season.
Simon's been here for 9 years. Simon wouldn't be happy where the results have gone the last couple of years. We're all not happy where we are. We're always looking to get better. But it's unfortunate that we had to get to that decision. But, you know, out of due respect, Simon's a terrific coach. He had the energy, he had the fight. You know, we're constantly communicating about that. And we just believed that the organisation and the club needed a new voice and a leader going forward.
I was disappointed, there's no doubt about that. But I certainly respect the board's decision. That's their right to make that decision. But I'm disappointed because I think we're a hell of a lot closer to turning our club and team back into a contender again than what people think.
Many people never thought this day would come.
This is possibly the best 17 minutes in the club's history.
It's a brand new flag.
Can I just say before I go, I just want to thank the supporters, the coaches, the players, the wider football community for the support that you've given me over 9 years. It's been a real ride. I'm looking forward to the next challenge, and just thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the support. It's been terrific.
Simon Goodwin's 9 years at Melbourne have come to an end. Just ahead of the dissection and the analysis, Gaz, just take a moment to pause. He's an immense figure at two footy clubs. He's a Hall of Famer at Adelaide, and he's one of 4 premiership coaches at the oldest footy club at all. So perhaps maybe you're best to speak about his legacy and maybe indulge us with your connection to him.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing this stuff in the background here, I will have a connection with him forever. That was one of the greatest days of my life from a football perspective, and it's the club that I've loved for a long time, and wondered at various stages whether we'd ever get ourselves out of the mire and back to a position where we could bring a premiership. And so Bert Chadwick, Frank Checker Hughes, Norm Smith and Simon Goodwin are the 4 men that have delivered a premiership to the oldest football club in this game. And that puts him in rare air. He's a hero of this football club and will be forever and a day. And if Melbourne supporters haven't taken a moment today to thank him for what he and the players were able to do on this day, then they should. And I know it hasn't ended in the manner that they would like it, and we can talk about the reasons why. But that's one of the greatest days ever. 57 years in the making, that was. And I tell you what, I've been here since 1984, and there was times where, I didn't know whether our club was either going to exist, let alone win a premiership again. So Simon Goodwin delivered that, and he'll be a hero forever. And it hasn't finished in the manner that he would have liked today, and we'll unpack that now.
And they built a great premiership, didn't they? As one in adverse circumstances away from home.
Amazing, yeah.
And they did win it with a team that was great in its moment.
Yeah, it was, and those boys will be heroes forever. And I was driving around today with the radio switched on like everyone was, sort of listening, and just nonsense about whether it was a real premiership. I mean, if any Melbourne supporter saying that, you're not a true Melbourne fan. This was, I know we'd all loved it to have been at the MCG, but have a look at that. Have a look at these scenes here. That'll live on forever. And of course, we all would have loved it to be more than one, but it wasn't. But geez, I'm thankful there was one.
Last night's decision. So it's a board that, through Brad Green and its presidents, has expressed its desire for change. They want a new voice. They want a new leader. They've clearly lost faith that Simon could and would be able to turn this around, either in the short or the medium term. And rather than it be about him being the last premiership coach, they couldn't see him as the next premiership coach. Yeah. Did they make the case convincingly for change? Not today, but press conferences are difficult. I mean, there's got... You know, Brad just kept getting asked and he kept saying, we need a new voice. Now, there's obviously got to be greater nuance and level of detail about why the board, the Melbourne Footy Club board, have reached the decision that Simon Goodwin is not to go on. They've just sacked the premiership coach, and they want to have, reasons more than just a new voice, which I suspect there is in their own mind. So, like Simon, you respect the decision. It's a tough decision. It wouldn't be easy for Brad Green, who's a former captain of this football club as well, to sack a premiership coach. Is it a justifiable decision? Yeah, I think they can justify it in their own mind. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not railing, and slamming the desk and saying he's been there 9 years. He's had a good run at it. He's delivered the ultimate.
I would hope and hope that he coached the year out, and they may have arrived at the Luke Beveridge situation where we say, look, let's find out, let's push hard for this next year and don't extend you, but let's coach for your life. But it's not to be. And Simon was class. I thought he was a classy performer today. It was almost as good as he's performed. He's never been a natural media performer, which has been, I think, a bit of the problem for Melbourne fans. He hasn't got natural charisma, if you like. He is in private. And there was a hint of that today.
Yep.
Humour and bit of self-deprecation, and there is absolutely no question those players love him, and there's absolutely no question in my mind that he has been coaching not to save his job. He's been coaching to set the club up again, to have another tilt at it. But there's been some wrinkles along the way, and too many, it would appear, for the board, and that's the prerogative. This is where you hope that you've got a great board, Gerard. This is when football club, and you, as a supporter, I don't know whether you get involved with the election of boards. These days it's a bit different, but geez, you hope you've got a good board who make good decisions.
So there's the 2 years of straight set exits, and then there's 2 years of decline. We'll get to the complexities around this year in a tick, but how much do you think the sameness around the way Melbourne would lose strategically, which you've identified, and it's driven people mad. How much of that, the lack of connection to the forward part of the ground, plays a role, do you think?
I think that has been a contributing factor. I don't know whether it's... because I think that's started to evolve in recent times, and I could throw out all sorts of numbers to you to say that they have been connecting a bit better recently. But it was the sameness for a long time, and that was a frustration for him. He sat here, we asked him about it. But it's sort of greater than that. I think it's a football club that's confused at the moment exactly where they are, and it's a football club that's disconnected. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and has been for a long time. So then you go to support mechanisms for your coaching structure, and it was pertinent that he mentioned it 4 or 5 times today. You must have a strong, stable off-field support mechanism, and I doubt whether he's felt that over the last couple of years.
Yes, and this is where this year's scenario plays a role. This is a football club that's lived in a void this year. It would have been a miracle if the coach had been successful in these circumstances, identifying the need for change last year, but not being able to execute change. The next president is not in the job, and the chief executive was appointed in April and doesn't start till September. There's no elite program in the world that has those pillars absent and achieves success. So stability, he hasn't had stability since Peter Jackson left, and there's no point denying that. No. But alignment. So the alignment was clearly lost. Is from the very first team he picked this year, which had 5 debutants in it, you went, oh, hello. He's not coaching for the here and the now, and he's not coaching for his job. He's coaching for the shortest possible turnaround, knowing that he's got 2 years to achieve that. That you don't get that disconnect if you're in constant contact with the president and the chief executive who aren't in their positions. I think it undermined his capacity to do the job that he knew needed to be done. And when you know is when Brad Green says, well, this board expects to be playing finals. Simon Goodwin didn't expect to be playing finals this year.
I think that's a really good point. And as a coach, when you're in this state of transition and, in his own mind, he may be looking at this club and saying, I need to make serious change here. Who am I selling that to? Am I selling that to Brad? Am I selling it to the interim? Do I have to sell it to Guerra when he comes in? Do I have to sell it to Stephen Smith? And now I've got to sell it to the playing group. And it might have been to the stage where I think he had arrived at the point where he understood that there needed to be substantial change. And then you go to the playing group and say, what is your motivation here? And I think that's another part of what we discussed today. This is a footy club who went to the top, as we've seen, and then I think have struggled with their reason for being as an individual in amongst the team setting. What is the motivation for the leaders of that football club? From the top down, no one questions Max. All the way down, what underpins this footy club? Are we team first, or are we individual that hopefully spills into the team? And I think that's fundamental to where this disconnect comes. I think the board sits at it and looks, we should be better. We have him, and him in amongst these. And I think from a coaching point of view, they go, OK, well, they are individually outstanding, but collectively they're not getting it done, so there needs to be change. Slowly moving some magnets, slowly doing a thing. I'm not sure whether they've embraced it. When they won the premiership, they were the most selfless team in the competition, and it was trotted out everywhere. I don't think they are now, and I'm not sure whether the board over the journey has been particularly selfless as well.
Yeah. So if the coach had come to the conclusion that it was time to break up the senior core, where would he have taken that
who do you
idea?
sell that to?
He didn't know whether he had the support of the board. I suspect he knew that last Monday after that board meeting. He's got a footy director who's closely aligned to, and it's hard to imagine that change doesn't come as well. He doesn't have a chief executive, and the president's not going to be there. So I think to run a circumstance like that is to invite failure, and then to cast judgment on the man who didn't know he was coaching for his life right now. You can only get that when there's a void, and Melbourne have lived in a void.
They're screaming out for a figurehead, Gerard. A strong, decisive leader of this football club, apart from the coach. They're screaming out for it. Is it going to be Stephen Smith, Paul Guerra? I don't know, but over the journey, that has not been there.
The biggest question that sits over them now is, has the dynasty been squandered for what might have been? So 2021 is magnificently won. They start 2022 10-0. Yeah. And every branch of the footy club has to own this, from the board, who were involved in pitted battles with the former president for far too long, to the administration who didn't face up to the flaws in the culture, they didn't address the locker room, and then they denied what was happening publicly. For the players on all sorts of different fronts, from the Entrecôte bust up to the players who weren't diligent around their professional careers and the implications of that, to the unfortunate injury suffered by Christian Petrarca and the club's terrible failing in dealing with him as a human being, let alone a player, and then the coaching setup, which wasn't able to rectify the one flaw in their game. So they finished top 4 the next 2 years and go out in straight sets before the decline sets in.
Yeah, the next year after the grand final, the fundamental job is to put yourself in a position to win the premiership, and they did that in the following 2 years. They won 16, they had 16 win seasons back to back and got themselves where they needed to be. Failed badly, I would say, in 2022. Lost those 2 finals to Sydney and Brisbane, and then put that aside and had another good 2023. Lost to Collingwood by 7 points, and then the 2-point loss to Carlton. Really disappointing, but the straight sets sort of infers that they just fumbled it away. They didn't. They put themselves right there again and fell short. And that can be a failing if you consider that the talent on the list was better than that. But that's what happens, and it's hard to back up, as we've seen in recent times. The last 2 years have been enormously disappointing, and all the things you talked about off-field and the unsettled nature of it all are reasons. But Simon would also have to own, and the coaching group own, the other aspects of that, because the discipline and maybe your loyalty to the group that took you to the premiership is so strong that perhaps in another world you would have come down harder on them. But I think there'd be a lot of people that would suggest they did make the most of the list. There's no problem. There's no issue about that.
And so how much of that sits with the club? So every level of it, as judgment is cast today, all those pillars are eventually going to change for the new start. Is how much does the club own that they didn't get all that they might have out of the era that they built?
Well, if they don't, then they'll wallow in the mediocrity for another 5 or 6 years, Gerard. So the best teams are the honest teams. And the honesty starts at the top. Did we get that right? From the board, honesty sessions there, down to the coaching group, and then to the playing group. And look at yourselves and just say, how much time have we invested in the last 2 to 3 years, or since we won that premiership, in getting back to what made us great? Or how much did we then go and splinter and worry about ourselves individually?
So what to do next? And this is specific to the team. Contention or rebuild? So to listen to Brad Green today, they hold a view, whether they should or they shouldn't, whether they're equipped to form that view or not, is they believe that they should be playing finals. And there's not many who agree with them on that front.
Yeah, so Brad says it's a list capable of playing finals. Goodwin all year has said this is a team in transition and that it may take time. And in his mind, he thought he had next year. And so if you're going to go to the market, the footy, I think most of the footy world agrees that the game has evolved and Melbourne had been relatively stagnant. So you're preparing for a life that doesn't necessarily revolve around Oliver, Petrarca and Viney, and it might be Lingford, Langford and Windsor. So then the club have got to buy into that. So then you go, OK, well, that's going to take a bit more time. That's not, that transition means that finals are at absolute best, not absolutely, a given. So then you go to the coaching group, and if you're selling the wrong message to a coach, the smart coach is saying, well, why would I go to that group where the expectation is so out of alignment where the list is at? And so all those decisions have got to be made. I think they're in transition and flux, and they are changing, and they do want to change what's been driving them for a long time. And that means you probably go back a bit, and you're going to hang around. But if you draft well and you continue to invest in Windsor, Langford and Lindsay, then they're hoping they get that right.
If Max has got 2 years left, could they contend again while he's there, in your mind?
Everything would have to go absolutely right. You know, then you're banking on Oliver getting back to his very best and Petrarca getting back to his best. But you're also you're banking May and Lever and all that leadership group to just have some humility about where they've been, accept what is there, and then get back to work. And I think that's a question that needs asking, and only they can answer that.
It's a big decision. It makes me wonder who's making it. Are you holding the core of it together, or are you breaking it up? Are you imposing it on a new coach, or are you asking a new coach to come in and make those decisions? What do they need in a new coach?
Well, I don't think you rule anything in or out. I know it's a wishy-washy answer, but no one can sit here and say they need a fresh coach who's never coached before who's going to come in, or they need a premiership coach who's been to the... Well, all of those would be on the table. And I don't think... You know, if you rule in or out, you miss out on Fagan, you miss out on the first year McRae, or you miss out on, you know, someone having a second go at it. So it's a tough one. It's a really hard one. And so then you've got to have faith in the club to choose wisely. And there's no guarantee, Gerard.
That's the tricky part,
isn't it?
You've
got to get your CEO with his feet under the desk.
Yep. Yeah. So Will Faulkner's written a piece for Fox Sports tonight. He says John Longmire is the top of Melbourne's list. There's an inescapable logic to that, isn't there?
There is. You can... What I'm not involved in is selling these things to supporters and sponsors, Gerard. You just want the best man. Fortunately, you can sell horse. You can sell horse to anyone. Well, he'll be here tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And you'll know that the question's coming. So if he's got any inkling at all, then I would imagine the call will be made, if it hasn't already.
Yeah. So the spectrum is quite interesting. Do you headhunt one, or do you take it to the process? And so you've got Cam Bruce, who's sitting there at the Brisbane Lions with a wealth of experience, and his heart belongs to Melbourne from a former day. So do you want... Yeah, it's the whole spectrum, or are you going, we're going to get him?
You've been involved in the media for a long time, Gerard. If I get you and I get 5 others from different medias and say, let's pick a name, then you can have him at the front of the queue by Thursday night with no justification at all. It's just who you want to make the flavour of the month. John Longmire doesn't have to worry about that.
No.
He's got runs on the board.
Tonight's list is never right unless a club chooses to go and target one person rather than, which is the Gold Coast experience with Damien Hutwick.
Yes, so then you'd say, OK, maybe that's the reason they went early, because they wanted to shop early, because they maybe have someone in mind. I didn't know he was getting sacked, so I sure as hell don't know the answer to that.
Cathartic?
Cleansed.
All right. The other big story of the day is Travis Boak's retirement at Port Adelaide, which is historically significant, number 7 on the all-time list, behind only the 400 gamers. Marcus Bontempelli is an unabashed fan. He's with us on Players Night as Trav joins us from Adelaide, contemplating his last few games.
The story.
Trav's been, a great credit to himself, his family, and the way he's led our footy club. We're just so honoured to have had him here for so long, 19 years. I mean, goodness gracious me, not many people are supposed to be playing footy for that long, so he's just an absolute champion person.
Don't have to tell you.
The last 3 years I've been saying to Mum this will be my last year, and she hasn't missed a game since then, but this year's been a challenge for sure. My body was probably the first to go, and then, my mind sort of was pretty quickly after that I can't do what I used to be able to do, and my passion for what's next is almost more now than playing footy, which hasn't been the case for 19 years.
Never tear us apart.
Even this year, I've felt like different moments in games where I've just sort of looked around at the crowd and tried to take it all in. The last couple never tear us apart. Walking off the ground, hopefully after a couple of wins will be really special. But yeah, I'm looking forward to thanking the fans and making sure that they feel they're a part of these last couple of games, because they've been a huge part of my journey for a long period of time. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Here's royalty at Alberton Way. 384 games, 19 seasons. He's behind only the 400-gamers to sit 7th all-time as he plays this weekend to ease away from the tie with Robert Harvey. The whole football world will pause to salute across the next 3 games as we see Travis Boak into retirement. Trav, it's great to have you back on 360. Congratulations and welcome.
No, I appreciate it, boys. Thanks for having me on.
And we've handpicked Marcus Bontempelli to be here tonight. Bont, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to lead the testimonials?
I'd be more than happy to. You know, Trav and I have connected probably at different points across my career. You know, we share the same manager in Tommy Petroro, and I messaged Trav before coming on and talked to more of the legacies probably left off the field than on the field. And I've certainly reached out to him and trained with him at different points across off-seasons and pre-seasons, and I know other players have done that too. So I think Trav, as special a talent he was on the field, will continue to be remembered for how giving he was and how much he was willing to probably share his experience beyond the footy field.
Trav, congratulations too. From my point of view, there's been few players, I think, in recent times. I think Luke Hodge would be one. Universally loved and admired and respected, despite being an opposition player. Tell us about that. What's it like to have a Marcus Bontempelli reach out, or a player from another club, you know, just to pick your brain and maybe run with you or train with you? I mean, what's that mean for you?
Oh, it certainly means a lot. I mean, you know, you want to leave a legacy in some way on the field, but the most important thing for me is trying to, one, get the best out of my ability, but help as many people along the way as you can. And you know, to have Bont speak the way he did just then is it means the world. And not only that, I've learned so much from him and different guys in the league. And there's some special people in the AFL, and to be able to share not only memories with guys at my club, but guys at other clubs has been pretty special. And to share stories is something I'll remember forever. And that's the thing, when you do finish up towards the back end of your career, you start remembering these times, and it's been pretty special.
Do you feel content, Trav?
In a way, yes. There's obviously the one thing that I'm missing, and one thing I tried everything I possibly could to get to, and as a footy club we did, and unfortunately in my 19 years we didn't get there, and I couldn't bring a premiership cup back to the fans at Port Adelaide. But in saying that, I've given everything I can, and I knew it was time. I was ready to step away and probably feel at ease now that I don't have to keep pushing to try and turn up game day other than the next 3 weeks. Because the body and mind was certainly right at the end.
You'll rest easy. There's no question. It'll come to you at a time where you'll just realise that you did everything you possibly could. What about today, when you're in that room and you're looking out and there's players and coaches and staff and trainers and boot studders, and every face you look at brings back another memory? Did it get emotional?
Yeah, 100%. I think, last night I didn't get any sleep. I was dreading it, and I have been for a while. I said to the boys that I've been putting it off for probably 5 years just because I didn't want to do the speech to the boys. And I think that was nearly the hardest part, was actually talking about the playing group, because they've just meant so much to me. And, as you know, that, the times you come off the ground, the challenges you go through, the ups and downs, the times where you just get absolutely belted, and you need your teammates to get you up. They're the ones always there. And even when you've got stuff going on outside of footy, they're the ones that you want to come and see at the footy club. And we're so grateful and so fortunate to be a part of this community. And my teammates at the footy club have been, a huge part of the ride. And that was probably the most emotional I got was talking about them and what they've given me. So it's it was tough to speak to them this morning, but I'm glad I did it, and very grateful for all of them.
I feel like Mum's been such a popular figure within our football world. You introduced her to us early, and she's shared so much of it. Was there a sense of a full dream coming to a fruition, coming full circle?
Yeah, Mum's been there the whole ride, and she was another one I couldn't look at in the meeting today just because I didn't want to tear up. But for her to be there the whole ride, you know, right from junior days when she was driving me to the footy to having extra sessions out in the oval, kicking the footy with me to now being here after 380 odd games, you know, is so special. And I did tell her probably 3 years ago this will be my last year, and she retired from work and went to every game over the last 3 years. And so I do owe her a fair bit, but yeah, hopefully it'll be some nice memories over the next three, and she'll be there for every one of them. But it's been really special, and I can't thank her enough.
And in the moments this season, the Ashley and Martin turning point to see you on the weekend, there have been enough moments along the way to make it worthwhile, haven't there? You told us about the back struggles that you've had, but in various matches, and Sam Mitchell mentioned to us a couple of weeks ago, he was still very admiring of the way you were able to play your footy. Has there been enough there for you this year?
No, there certainly has. I mean, there's special moments. Obviously playing the milestone game earlier on in the year, and there has been some really good wins along the way. But what I've loved is still seeing the growth of a lot of our younger players. Obviously, Zach is one of the best players in the competition now. So seeing him go to work, you know, Connor as captain go to work, and Jace obviously has a bit more of a challenging year this year. Pep to come back from his ACL and play the way he did early on. You know, those moments are the real special ones. And then later on, towards the back end of the year, you know, hearing the crowd when I've got the ball is something that's been, you know, really special. And the fans have been there the whole way. And those moments I'll remember forever. The results haven't gone the way. The year hasn't been as successful as we wanted it to be, but that's footy. But there's still been some special moments there.
3 big games to go. That last game in Adelaide Oval is going to be special. Yeah. First time I've seen you since you signed the new deal. Nice to get that out of the road.
Definitely. You know, I probably spoke at different points throughout the course of the season when I was asked about it, that it was something I was probably always going to take my time with, just because of different things that were going on in my life. But I don't think anyone really saw it playing out any differently, even though the questions continued to come, which is just what you embrace when you do take your time with something like that. So obviously excited and pumped to have locked it in for another couple of years.
And now you sit just outside the 8 in this, you know, this log jam now of whether you can get in and whether you can get out. So where's your head at with all this?
It's a pretty simple sort of equation when you think of it. If we keep winning, you sort of feel like we'll be in with a pretty good chance. And I think that's all you can really do, is not try and sort of scan too far ahead, even with sometimes, you know, there's a bit of commentary purely about the last game of the season, and we can't afford to be thinking too far ahead when it comes to that one. We ultimately need to set ourselves up the best way we can by just sort of continuing each sort of week. So we've probably been sitting outside for a few weeks now, so I guess we're a little bit used to it, is being sort of on the edge and sort of waiting for a chance. But ultimately, we've got to make the most of ours as we keep going.
Do you feel like you've got a role to play should you get there? We watch the recent form and go, blimey, how could this team miss out?
Absolutely. I mean, our probably challenges are quite sort of clear, you know, across the season. We've, you know, been a decently good scoring team, you know, football, you know, ball in hand, but clearly we haven't been able to defend the ground or stop scoring as much as possible. So I think that maybe makes it an easier thing to sort of play through the next 3 weeks, because you've got a really clear focus on what you can work on. It might be a bit challenging if you were, as much as I'd rather be up there, higher up the order, and you've got a pretty, you know, sound understanding of your game, and you're in the 8 or in the top 4, and then you're sort of trying to hang on a little bit, whereas it does feel like, for us, we are still chasing, and often with the Bulldogs, we seem to be quite comfortable in that position and sort of trying to chase down the pack. So for us, it's honing in on the things that we probably haven't been able to be consistent enough in, and really targeting those areas the next couple of weeks.
80 points and 90 points your last 2 games. So Gerard and I have spoken about this a lot. You know, your defensive stuff gets thrown in your face all the time, but the fact is, offensively, you're a weapon, and you've got weapons up there that most clubs haven't. And yeah, it looks like you can double down on that and say, OK, we'll continue to try and get better here, but guess what? We will hurt you here. Is that how it's playing out?
Yeah, and maybe, you know, definitely Bevo's MO, and over the course of my career at the Bulldogs, it's always been an offensively minded sort of focus, and that's because we want to play a brand that people definitely enjoy watching. He wants the players to feel like there's freedom, that you've got to explore your own skill set, especially with the football, and everyone is more excited when you're handling the prune rather than chasing it. But our challenge is once the ball potentially goes our way and we can send it there, that we're setting up the ground from the back of that. So ultimately, I think there's definitely a confidence in what we're doing with the football. We feel like we can really challenge teams, but clearly once they've got the ball, we've needed to be better. So ultimately, that'll sort of come to fruition over the next few weeks with where we end up.
Can Sunday get a bit complicated? Have you played in the coach-sacked game before?
We have. I've definitely one from memory. I can't remember if there's been another one beyond that, but what I've definitely noticed in these situations is maybe for opposition teams, you know, caution sort of gets thrown to the wind a little bit, and all of a sudden you see a flare and the opposition teams just sort of take the game on and try and strip back the game from too much complexity and just play with it with a simplicity, and sometimes that can be really hard to defend. So I think ultimately we've got to probably lock in on the things that we have been doing, you know, well the last 2 weeks, try to turn the volume up on it and expect that there might be a bit of a emotion in it. So ultimately we'll expect Melbourne's best. They've still got a bunch of really talented players who know how to play the game and can get you in a number of different ways. So got to be best prepared for sure.
Trav, it might be too early, but live post-footy, I don't think you're going to be short of opportunities and offers. There's a whole... there'd be 17, 18 clubs that would all love to have you involved, but maybe life outside of that. Have you got any idea? Or is it just too early?
I'm going to go on a nice holiday first. Sorry about my voice. Been a bit... we've had a lot of sickness go through the club the last few weeks, so just on the back end of it. I'll go on a nice holiday first, and then after that I'll take my time to sort of think about what I want to do next. But I think what I've learnt over the last probably 6 or 7 years is how important the mental space is and the mindset, and how to prepare properly, how to be an elite athlete. And I'd love to step into that space in some way. And if that's in footy, if that's in business or working with athletes, that's kind of the area I want to get into. But yeah, for now, I'll go on a nice holiday, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
It's a Port Adelaide Footy Club. When the history of that football club's written, this man's role in it and keeping it together at a time when it was vulnerable is going to be celebrated long after we're gone. Yep. And they've been well served, mate. I know the clubs back here would love to have got you back. The fact that you stayed loyal is really significant, and I'm wrapped for you, and I hope the next 3 weeks are everything you want it to be.
No, I appreciate it, boys, and thanks for always supporting me too. It's been a pleasure.
Right, just as you leave us, Bond, it's the 21st edition of the Pink Lady match that you'll play in on Sunday, and the pink laces going into the boots.
Beautiful, yeah. It's clearly a privilege to play in any game with some sort of special meaning attached to it, but particularly for a foundation like the BCA, you know, and one of our teammates, Oscar Baker, who's been affected by it with his mum, it makes it even more special to be able to contribute and help support something I think he's been an ambassador for a very long time. So it does make it even more special to join in the cause and be part of trying to improve something as part of our great game.
It's a powerful image, the Pink Lady on the MCG. Now they're doing it virtually, which gives everyone the opportunity. If you're not at the game, you can get involved in it. So there's the website. So many people have been touched by this over the journey, and really well spoken, Bond. And there's lots of mums and women in our life, and men as well, which was seen this week. Yep. So get involved and help out where you can.
Great to have you as part of the night, Marcus. Thanks for being here.
See you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Trav, terrific to share it with you. May the last 3 weeks be everything you want them to be.
I appreciate it, boys. Thank you.
Travis Boak and Marcus Bontempelli with us on Players' Nights. Ray Chamberlain is about to join us. He's not finished with his umpiring duties, as it turns out. He'll tell us about that next. And Gaz has got push in the back in the game.
You need to calm down. We don't talk to one another like that.
Ray Chamberlain, see you next Tuesday.
So I'm sorry, young man, there's no skating here.
It was hard to miss during Saturday's game because we don't see a whole lot of it. Push in the back paid routinely, to the delight of Gerard Healy, to the curiosity of Gary Lyon. We thought, we've got the man who can run us through all of this. I just had one word rattling around in my head: unduly. Unduly. Raises edge. Perfect fighter, Ray Chamberlain. Welcome.
Gerard, Garry, how are we?
Hey, Rosa.
Righto, before we get to all of this, Lauren Woods just published a story at the Herald Sun. She's about to make a big deal of it. You coming back?
Yeah, going to do some umpiring in the AFLW, which I'm really excited about. My first
games in the AFLW were in February of 2020. So I've umpired about 5 or 6 of the seasons that the AFLW has been running. It's season 10. And, I'm very much looking forward to being a part of it.
If Greg Swan abandons the bounce, will you just roll into the AFL?
Be very careful what you wish for, Gary.
No, I'd love to have you back in there.
This will be great. And
it wasn't a no. Contemplate it.
Oh, no, I've retired from the AFL and, I'm 49 in September. I think they've probably got other avenues to go down, but you never say never.
Why does this do it for you?
Well, I think it's really cool. When I umpired, Gerard, and I was coming through state leagues, I had people like our legends, Peter Carey, David Howlett, these sorts of gentlemen who would give up their time and come and help and give you guidance and critique you accordingly. And we've got a really young group of next generation umpires who are coming through. And it's not just myself. There are other former AFL umpires who will be umpiring in the AFLW this year. Jordan Bannister, Chris Donlan, Jason Armstrong. There's a list of them. And so there'll be this balance of experience and youth. And I'm looking forward to playing a role in that.
Right.
All right, you're on record as saying you think pushing the back should be policed more diligently than it is, and the thresholds for unduly have been too high. Did you like what you saw on Saturday?
I loved what I saw on Saturday, Gerard. And, I know we have an array of examples that will run through, and all of them, in my eyes, are warranted free kick for pushing the back in a marking contest. I think what's really important to understand is that it's not permissible to push an opponent in the back in a marking contest. You are permitted to hold space, so you can protect the space, you can protect the position, but you can't create the space through the act of a push in a marking contest. And that game at Marvel Stadium, very young, inexperienced in general terms crew, I thought were very accurate in that part of the game.
OK, so as we look at it, there's up 1 per game. My question for you is, was your younger, inexperienced crew umpiring it correctly, or was everyone else in the 21 rounds up till then getting it wrong?
That's a really reasonable question to ask. And I remember, and we may very well see example later on from early on, round 1, and it was Buku Kamas and Gerard and Garry, and the AFL umpiring department said that's a correct decision from our umpire not to award a free kick. So on field, our umpire is following instruction as they've been told. But we look at that and we go, well, that's different to these.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you can't have them both.
So you would like these all to be paid?
These are all accurate free kicks for pushing the back. This one...
You go.
No, you go.
No, I'm with you. I would like to see it umpired like this, but this is the problem I've got. It hasn't been.
I would argue that... I agree with you, so let's put that in the ground. When you say for 21 rounds, there have been... there are 3.1 free kicks for pushing the back. In a marking contest every game on average across 21 rounds. And on the weekend, that went up to 4.4, so up by 1 extra per game. So it's not a seismic shift, and they have been being paid, but the Buku Kamas is a perfect example where you go, well, hang on, that should be paid.
Yeah, it's been a creep.
Of course it has.
It's a creep, and this is the hard thing for now. We had 2 senior coaches here, there's your Buku Kamas. 2 senior coaches last night saying, well, no one told us it was going to be umpired any differently. So the creep has got to the stage now where players are taking liberties because they're getting away with it, and now you're getting pulled up. You could turn around and say, well, hang on a minute.
Where's this been? And I think that's why it's really important that if... with all of our rules, there's margins. So you go, that's definitely a free kick, that definitely isn't. And then we have some disputation in the middle where it's somewhat subjective. But come out and say that. Don't come out and say the Buku Kamas one, no, that's absolutely correct. Come out and say, this sits in the margins. Then we can all live with that.
Right.
But when you build a rod for your back there, you invite this kind of debate.
Yeah. So on Sunday, where we saw them and they weren't being paid, and you're watching them going, should it or shouldn't it?
That's
and we thought, would you play arbiter with us on these ones?
Yeah, so if we roll through each of these, I think what we've got... So I think this is a mark. I think Mason Wood's under the flight of the ball and Pink goes back to the ball more so than creating space on Wood. I think that's OK. This is almost identical. OK, so he's got him just under the flight of the ball. I don't think that's a big shove-out creating space. This one's different. That should be a free kick, in my opinion. Left arm, middle of the back, see you later... push. But our umpire is outside play as is being asked by the game, to keep space inside of the field of play.
This one?
And that one there, I think that is the bottom end that you would allow to say, yep, that meets the threshold of unduly. So I think Jackson does push him forward, does create marginal space, therefore it's a push in the back in a marking contest. So I think the first two are accurate non-free kicks. The third one, which is Henry, is a free kick, but if you're in the umpire's position, you cannot see that left hand, and the right hand's on his side, and the last one sits in the margins. That's how I would unpack those.
So I'm commentating this weekend. Do I expect to see more of these, or are we going back to the way it was umpired for the better part of it?
I think again, we've got 3.1 free kicks a game for pushing the back in a marking contest, so they are being paid. And if a player,
which game I turn up.
Well, it might, but that's the beauty of umpiring, Gary. There's 9 rounds that we've got to navigate our way through every round of the year.
I'd argue with one of those other ones, but it had already gone. So
thank goodness.
And then advantage.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is interesting. So a couple of things I want to unpack with these is key element about advantage is it's player driven. So this is an accurate example. Watch the umpire at the bottom of the screen. Awards free kick and does nothing. Watches. Rayner rolls off and takes advantage, and the umpire then says, yep, you've decided to go.
So it's all onus on the player.
All on the player, and that is excellent composure from the umpire to wait and delay and do nothing and let the player decide. It's actually elite umpiring.
What did Mitch Lewis do?
So in this instance here, we get distracted by Keane. It's a terrific free kick, but we've blown time on. Did you see that in the background? Our umpire's actually blowing time to stop the play. He doesn't turn his head and find the footy. So he awards a good free kick. Keane comes at him, wants to engage and dispute, and he gets distracted away from the ball. He doesn't go and find the ball. And so if you look at the cadence, he needs to not blow that whistle, then turn his head and find Lewis and call
a simple
advantage.
mistake.
This here, against perfect example. Straight bounce, warranted free kick, wait. Zorko doesn't want to go, so now we blow the whistle and bring it back. So the delay is the key element. The umpire needs to slow down, find the footy and wait.
So just to be clear, the second one was a mistake by the umpire?
It's a mistake from the umpire, yeah. And if he had his time again, he'd turn his head, find the footy, Lewis plays onto advantage, all clear at point.
Okay.
All right, you're umpiring the next few days?
I am Carlton Collingwood on the Thursday.
Rest assured, Ray, we'll be getting the tape.
You won't be on your own.
Fine-tooth comb.
Razor's Edge with Ray Chamberlain on a Tuesday night. Tomorrow, our favourite pairing who are very much at the forefront of discussions now, John Longmire and Adam Simpson. Presumably they will collude.
No fun and games tomorrow night, Gerard.
And then we're scheduled for our fortnightly appearance with Simon Goodwin. So we'll see. We'll finish the journey together.
I could feel the game that was getting hold of me, my pressure and stress, and I was investing a lot, and it was wearing me down emotionally.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away.
You know, I got back to smiling, I got back to loving the game, having fun, enjoying what I do, and yeah, you're under pressure, but I wanted to do it.
The ghosts of the past seem to have disappeared. This feels like Melbourne's time.
Melbourne into its first grand final in 21 long years.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown a mind.
They work with me around my energy, what to give energy to, what to let go, and just to be me.
This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come.
I had tears before the game even started. And I was laying on my bed crying, just thinking of just how proud I was of the group.
Streaming through. Bang! Bang, bang, bang!
This is possibly the best 17 minutes in the club's history.
Because of how far they've come, 2 years ago we were 17. It's a long way back to the top, and to play the way we played, it's a big rise.
Many people never thought this day would come. It has.
But it took some adversity. It took missing the finals again last year before the players said enough's enough.
It's a brand new flag. happier times for our Demon community. Simon Goodwin has shared so much of his coaching journey with us on 360. It comes to a close today. Tears before the game even started is one that will last.
More of that, Gerard. The more of that would be a great thing. So it's a nice way to end what's been a pretty tough day for Melbourne people, but some nice memories, and never forget what Simon Goodwin delivered to this footy club.
All right, we'll pick up tomorrow night.